All righty, guys. Thank you so much, Colleen. That was a lovely, lovely deal. I appreciate it. I am excited to be able to be here. And what we're going to do is we are going to talk about what you can do to generate more, to find and win more paid speaking gigs. My name is Brian Hilliard. I will be your cruise director for this lovely afternoon, and we are going to go through some of those different things to be able to be successful. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if you don't mind, I know we have some people who are listening on the recording. We have some people here who are live. If you are here live, can you indulge me and just put your camera on? If you don't want to pay attention, that's okay, but it makes me feel warm, fuzzy, and like I have somebody. Otherwise, all I'm doing is talking, and I can do that with Baxter or Nero, one of our dogs. So I appreciate that. And then, like Colleen said, we're going to make this real interactive. So we're going to be able to have you guys have some real good discussions. And again, for our listening audience at home, if you're listening to this on the recording, we have got you covered, as well as we're going to cover, I think, some really good stuff. So I am going to get my screen share started. Wonder Twin powers. Activate. There we go. Form of a smiling Brian. Okay, here we go. So you guys should be able to see that. Can they see that, Kelly? They can see that. They can see that. Everybody can see that? Okay, we're seeing that. All right, so what we're going to do, how to find and win more paid speaking gigs. What is that going to be? You are in the right place if you're a speaker who loves getting up on stage, but for whatever reason, you just haven't been able to generate as much revenue from those occasions as you would like. You're also in the right spot if you're a speaker who wants to get paid to speak, okay? And we're not disrespecting if you don't. We'll have a little tip in there for you if you're not there yet. That's fine. But if you want to get paid to speak, have no idea where to start, you are in the right spot. And then you are also in this right spot if you want to impact more lives and get your message out to a wider audience through public speaking. I think public speaking personally is one of the single best organic ways to move the ball forward in your business. Personally, obviously it gets you out one to many, okay? Obviously it gets you out one to many. Obviously it gets you out to people from a trusted authority perspective. I don't think you need me to convince you about the benefits of speaking, but we've got that right there, all right? In terms of what you're going to learn, Colleen mentioned this earlier. We're going to talk about excuse me here, trying to get this mouse right. Okay, a common misconception around getting paid to speak and how you can overcome it. One of my favorite points. We're also going to learn 7 groups that will hire you for paid speaking gigs. One of the misconceptions that we have in the public speaking genre is that you have to be like Tom Clancy or Barack Obama to get paid to speak. And those guys do get paid to speak, but you don't have to be them. Okay, so we're going to go over some different groups and some misconceptions and things like that. And then we're going to go over some specific thoughts on how you can grow your business through public speaking, even if you're doing it for free. So for some of you guys, you might be like, hey, I just want to drop in here, see what this is all about. Maybe I'm not at the paid level yet. Maybe I want to do something. We've got something for you too. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Everybody in good shape with what we've got there? Okay, cool. Then let us get into it. Oh, I almost forgot. So what we're going to want to do is, and hopefully I made the time deadline, Colleen, because I know you specifically said, can I have him drop something in the chat now, or do you want me to wait a few more minutes? I can drop in the chat now. Okay. So what I was going to do was, what I'd like to do is make one quick recommendation, if you don't mind, which is I like to treat this as a networking event as well, okay, because we're on virtual. Sometimes you can feel like you lose a little bit just in terms of the connectivity. Sometimes you can feel that way. All right. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I'm going to ask you to drop in the chat. I'm going to ask you to drop in obviously you'll have your name. If you want an email or a phone number, that's fine. A calendar link, that's fine too. Okay. Drop that into the chat because a lot of times it goes all over the place. Drop that into the chat now. And last but not least, if you're a speaker, put a Y. If you're a speaker, just put a Y. Okay. Name, number, phone, email if you want it, whatever, okay? And if you're a speaker, drop a Y. If you have a calendar link, that's cool too. Makes it a little easier because it can get distracting. I'll speak for myself. Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. Awesome, Cecilia. Appreciate that. Mary Chan, good to see you again. All right. Everybody else, Colleen, good, cool. Thank you. Rod, appreciate it. All right, we got some of the people that everybody do what's the okay, Jennifer, good. Jennifer, we need your contact information, number, anything, we'll take it. Nikki, appreciate it. Excellent, excellent, excellent. There you go. There you go. All right, all right, awesome. So they're trickling in, trickling in, trickling in. All right. So let's get this already started. I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. That is speaking, Brian. That was down in Atlanta. You can tell I'm making a lot of sense just by the pose. You can tell. Okay, so that's speaking, Brian, on the move. And I grew up in Connecticut, just so everybody knows. You probably realize I'm from the Northeast. Grew up in Connecticut, went to Duke University. Colleen alluded to that earlier. I have a marketing minor and an economics major. All right. And it was very hard. Not recommended. If you have a chance to go to Duke University or any school like that, don't go. Or be ready for bear because it's hard. All right. Like super, super hard. But we made it. We're still seeing your cover slide. Is that what you did? You should be able to see. Colleen, can you see my regular slide? Is it maybe?
The slide I see has got you posed and it says how to find and win more paid speaking engagements.
Oh, wow. It's still got my cover slide. Okay. So we don't want that. Let me try to do it this way. We are similar for marketing.
Shout out to Nikki for letting us know. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah. Thanks, Nikki. Let me try it one more time. So now nothing. And now let's see what we got here. Okay. Now you see my cover. Now you don't, right? You see some of these. Okay. Okay.
There you
know
go.
what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do, guys? Because we've been having a little bit of tech challenge. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to put it on slideshow. I'm just going to have it on regular old school PowerPoint, if you don't mind indulging me. Okay. Because that might be it. Anyway, so you will learn a common misconception, all that stuff. Let me make the recommendation. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Nikki, for that shout out. So everybody can see this now, right? Grew up in Connecticut, went to Duke, marketing minor, economics major. Okay. My first big hit was Networking Like a Pro, how to overachieve without overcommitting. That's one of my paid speaking gigs as well. And for some of you guys, what you might find is that what you coach about and what you do a paid speaking about are two different things. Don't sweat that. That's okay. My paid speaking gigs are on how to overachieve without overcommitting, developing a leader's mindset. I obviously work with people in the form of getting paid speaking gigs and generating more paying clients from their free talks. Don't sweat that. You're totally fine. Okay. We're moving on. What I do, like I said, is show speakers how to generate more revenue from their public speaking activities because that is huge. And I don't know how many times you guys have gone in and maybe done a presentation and you get great reviews. And maybe this is for like a free one, right? You get great reviews. People are clapping. Okay, so this is going to be kind of like a little bit of a rhetorical question. So don't make eye contact with me on this. Okay, don't make eye contact. So it's a little rhetorical question. So this is the idea where you go in, you speak, and people love you, but it just doesn't turn into as much business as you think. Right? They give you the standing ovation. You get the handshakes. People love you. They can't talk with you enough. Doesn't quite work out. We're going to see what we can do about that. We're going to see what we can do to generate more paying clients as well. All right, where I live now, North Carolina, already said that. Fayetteville, all right? That is south of, where is that south of? Raleigh, by about 90 minutes. Go up to the airport in Raleigh. Published 8 books, podcasts. Colleen's already mentioned this. What she didn't mention is that's Nero the Calm. That's our small dog. That was after he got a haircut. I almost didn't recognize him. He has so much fluff. He came back. They're trying to give him to me. I'm like, that's not our dog. They're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's not. Then she started licking me, and he's like, that's your dog. Okay. And he give us the money, $50. So I gave it to him and took him away. But that's Nero, our small dog. What we are going to talk about here today is the top 4 challenges that speakers face when getting paid to speak and how you can overcome them. Challenge number 4. This is what groups hire paid speakers. Okay. So this is under the title of this is how to find and win. This is under the find column. Everybody with me on that? This is under the find column. Okay. Before we get into that, there's 7 groups, like I said. I want to tackle this misconception, and I've actually kind of already mentioned it, but let me officially mention it. The common misconception when it comes to getting paid speaking is that we're not good enough to get it. The common misconception around getting paid speaking is that we're not good enough to get it. It's that we have We're not famous enough. We don't have a book. Remember, Colleen mentioned that in the upset. We don't have a book. We're not famous enough. We don't, we don't have that celebrity status. Oh my goodness, are people really going to want us? Like that kind of stuff. Take all of that and throw it right out the window. Let me give you a little secret because this is a common misconception. Is that this outside? I watch a lot of sports, football. We got different things coming up outside of the NBA draft, the NFL draft, the MLB draft. I can't think of another industry that goes out of their way to bring in talented, up and coming people. Brian, why is that? Because if I'm a conference organizer and I paid you to come out and speak, right? I'm a conference organizer and I paid you to come out and speak, and you did a great job. Like you did a great job. I have no problem with it. You did a great job. But the problem is I had 2 keynotes for that 2-day event. Let's say 2 days. I had 2 keynotes for that 2-day event. And let's say I had 4 breakout sessions each day for a total of 8. Am I making sense? 1 keynote a day, 4 plus the breakouts. That's obviously 5 times 2, 10 speaker slots for 2 days. Even if you were awesome, could I bring you back next year? The answer is no. Why? Because the audience doesn't feel like you're doing your job. You bring the same person back, you're talking about people who are traveling and things like the audience doesn't feel like you do your job. So you can't bring the same person back. All right, so what do? You have to, for year 2, even if you were happy with year 1 through 10, you have to deep dive into your 11 through 20 speaker list, don't you? You have to, because you can't do 1 through 10. Year 3, I can't get 11 through 20, and I still can't get 1 through 10. So now I'm at 21 to 30. Am I making sense with this? I'm 20, my 21st, 22nd, 23rd, all the way up to my 30th speaker is who I have to get for year 3. Year 4, maybe I can get somebody from year 1, but probably not. I'm up to 40. Multiply that times all the conferences across the country. There's a conference going on in Vegas right now. There's 3, there's 10, there's probably 20. In the Bellagio right this second. Someone's getting paid to speak. They're either getting a check right this second or, going to get one in 10 minutes. The paid speaking industry has a dearth of quality, up-and-coming talent. They want to bring in new people. They love that. That's why when you call these folks and you're able to talk with them, they're like, yes, we want to be able to talk with you. Now, notice the caveat, quality, up-and-coming, competent. You'll hear some qualifiers. That's under the, that's under the get part. We'll talk about that, in a few minutes. But am I making sense right off the bat with the misconception and where we're going? Okay. So I'm going to ask you to take that mindset, not that you do have it, but if you have a mindset of, I'm not really this and I need to get that, and blah, 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 blah. Someone's looking for their 50th speaker in the last 5 years, and it can't be the number 1 through 49 that they had. Why can't you be 50? Because 50 through 51 is getting at the conference this year. 50 through 59, is getting at the conference this year. Okay, it's a different way to look at it. Now, in terms of the 7 groups, I told you I'd mention that. Let's get into this. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to get paid to speak, like, who's hiring me? Again, we're still in the find, right? We're still in the find. Let me give you 7 groups. Here we go. No particular order, but here we go. Companies, a lot of people think about corporations, so organizations and corporations, okay? Franchise conventions, conferences. Those are the first 3. I think of them as the 3 C's. Companies, which can include organizations, franchise conventions, and conferences. Okay, number 4 and 5, those would be universities, nonprofits. 4 and 5, universities, nonprofits. 5 and 6, those would be trade associations and the public sector. Like I wouldn't recommend the federal government. I'd recommend the state or the county, if you were asking. All right, so let me go over those again. The 3 C's: corporations / organizations, conventions, franchise conventions, and conferences. Universities, nonprofits, trade associations, public sector. Everybody got that? All of those people are bringing in paid speakers. All of them. Okay? And our job is simply to be able to ascertain when they're coming up and how we can turn that into actually winning it. Does that cover you for challenge number 4? What groups hire paid speakers? That's the finding part. Is everybody good with that so far? Yeah? Everybody good? Okay. All right, we're moving. Let's go to challenge number 3. All right, Brian, so you told me that there's people out there. Great. How do I get started? What's a good first step? It's a good question. And it's one there's actually a few things that we can cover here. So let's cover them. One of the very first steps that I like to tell people is you absolutely have to have a snappy presentation title and description. How is it? Remember, I mentioned earlier, about 3 minutes ago, they're looking for competent, engaging, would-be speakers. How? So put this, and you'll notice I keep saying this. Put yourself in the mind and the perspective of a meeting planner or a conference organizer. So here's the thing. Meeting planners and conference organizers, it's not like picking up a bag of cherries or tomatoes over at the farmer's market. If I get the wrong bag of tomatoes at the farmer's market, there's 2 people who know, me and my girlfriend, and then we throw it out. If I'm a meeting planner and I get the wrong person at the speaking, guess who knows? Me, my boss, and 398 of my friends, all at the same time. That's why I don't know if you've ever been to a conference. Have you ever been to a conference and you see the conference organizers, you see how they're kind of tense, like they look like they should be getting some vodka, which they might be later? That's why. Imagine if your whole job review came down to 80% of the people you've actually never met. What do? Okay, let me tell you what you do, what you start. First, you start by finding who has a snappy workshop presentation title. You then continue by taking a look at what the description is. I'll give you some examples of this in a second. Does it sound compelling? Then what you do is you take a look at her speaking. You take a look at her speaking, right? Does it seem like she knows what's going on? Then what you do is you talk to her on the phone. Well, Brian, when do you take a look at the book? That's interesting. I never said that, did I? You take a look at her as you're speaking. You schedule some time. Now, obviously, if it's a tie, maybe you take the person who has a book on the subject versus someone who doesn't. I'm not saying a book doesn't help. I want to be clear with that. A book does help. I've written 8 of them. I'm going to write another one. Like, a book helps. Okay, so we're clear? But when you've got this stuff going on and you're moving, let me tell you what, they're really trying to understand where, if you bring something to the table, number 1, and number 2, are you going to make me look bad or good? That's it. The other thing about speaking is paid speaking. It's the ultimate meritocracy. Professional golf is like this too, by the way. I don't know if you guys, how much you know about professional golf, but if you don't like where you are, the commissioner said this, if you don't like where, they take the top 150 players in the world each year based off of money, what they earn. If you're number 1, you get certain things. You get better tee times. If you're number 10, you get slightly worse, but better than number 30. Number 40 is better than this. You get my point. It's the ultimate meritocracy. If you don't like where you're at as a golfer professionally, you know what the commissioner said, Tim Fincham? He says, play better. Stop complaining to me, and how about you shoot a 67 on Sunday instead of a 71, and maybe then we can have a conversation about you moving up in the rankings. Play better. The same thing is true for paid speaking. You can absolutely play your way in. So when I was down in Florida, it's about 4 years ago. It was about 4 years ago. And I got in for a conference. And the first 10, so they had like 2 or 3 keynotes and then the next breakout sessions. I didn't make it. You don't always make it, okay? But what I did get is they had a lunch and learn, and they had 3 or 4 lunch and learns. I got the biggest lunch and learn that they had. It was in like Central Florida, I think it was Northern Florida, actually. Okay, the biggest one that they had. So I tell people I just missed the cut because I got the next best thing. Okay, I didn't get the conference, but I got the big luncheon. So they saw me speak at the luncheon. Guess what they said? We need to have you at next year's conference. Just like that. We need to have you at next year's conference. Okay. I said, all right, what do I need to do? They're like, this, and this. I got a breakout session at the next year's conference, the next year's conference. A friend of mine says, we need to have him keynote. I got a keynote, not at that conference. They have two conferences. I got a keynote. They had one in Tallahassee. I got a keynote in that one. Play better. You can absolutely play your way in, but it starts, okay, we're talking about winning now. It starts with having a good, what did I say, topic, title, a good description, okay? Let me also tell you how you're able to win these bad boys. A speaker page on your web page. If you do not have a speaking page on your website right now, so if you have a website, and if you don't have a speaking page on that website, you know, I don't make these rules. Like, that's going to be hard to win because you're essentially telling somebody they need to give you a $3,000 to $4,000 check, or $2,000 or $1,000. Sometimes it's 500. I got 500 the other day. It's not a big deal. Plus travel. It's friends and family, right? But that's not the point. They're not giving you any check until they can see what it is you're all about. Let's talk about the actual web page. Okay, real easy. What you want there is you want something that looks professional. I recommend, obviously, a topic, description, okay? In a perfect world, you have a video of you speaking, like a little speaker reel. I'll tell you, here's a pro tip. I don't know of anybody else that does this. I can't imagine I'm the only one, but I just don't know if anybody does this. I talk about this. We have a mastermind that I like to do, where we call it the Speakers Education and Mastermind. You might have seen it in the newsletter. It's a monthly virtual deal. We'll go around and about 10 minutes where people get a chance to introduce themselves. We do some education, open forum, mastermind, break up. In one of the masterminds that I was doing the education. I talked about this as a best practice, actually, because I don't know where people, if I can't be the only one who does this, but I will tell you, I do a video of myself talking about the topic. So if you were to go to my website, I have a speaker site, brianhilliard.com. You don't have to, if you are. BrianHilliard, brianhilliard.com. If you were to go, that's my speaking site, and you take a look at the speaking page on that site, what you'll find is, as my topic, it has my title. Well, title and topic are the same. It has my topic, it has my description, it has a video next to me of me talking about each topic. I'll tell you what else it has, if you really want to go the whole way, is it also has who the ideal audience is. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that. I've got a call later on with a young lady. They've got a conference. It's a virtual conference emanating from the UK. That's my understanding. That might not be right. That's my understanding. Virtual conference emanating from the UK. What's going to happen is I'm going to wind up going on the deal with them. Okay. She's like, can we talk? Sure. Thank you for even inviting me. That's the other thing. Always be appreciative. Speakers can be a little bit of prima donnas. I have found it to be a winning play to be overly ingratiated. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I said, thank you. Yes, this is great. So we're going to get on the phone in about 2.5 hours. It's after this presentation, obviously. Okay. And what she's going to ask me, she doesn't know me. I filled out a call for speakers form about 3 or 4 weeks ago. She does not know me. But she's going to get a feel for who I am and what I'm all about. She's going to make a decision probably within the first 10 minutes. She's going to ask me some questions. She's going to be able to do some different things, and we're going from there. Am I making sense to everybody with what it is we're doing here? Okay. That's how you win these engagements. You win them by having a topic that people understand. You win by having a clear, consistent marketing message on who you are and how you serve. We can talk about all these. I'm going to open up for some questions, by the way, here in a second. You win by being personable. You win by people, like I said, personable, liking you. And you win by being thankful. I find being thankful makes a big difference for a lot of this stuff. I got a deal. I'm going to be speaking down in the University of Texas in San Antonio. And it is they saw me speak. Then what happens is I got the deal. It's a 5-figure deal. I'll just put it to you at that. It's a 5-figure deal. And every time I get on the phone, I say, no problem. every time they get on the phone, I say, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. They don't have to give you these checks. There's harder ways to make a living in this country. That does not include taking a 2-hour flight to stay at the Courtyard by Marriott to do a double header that day on speaking. So you can have some books that you can then sign, take pictures, and probably someone's buying you drinks and dinner afterwards. There's harder ways to make a living than that. You say thank you. Okay, to be able to let people know that you appreciate it. Now, one other thing I want to get into, sometimes people ask me about rates. I always tell them that what you want to be looking at is travel is always included. You might have some situations where you just get the travel money. That's okay. Sometimes you'll have a situation where you'll get travel plus an honorarium up to $500. That's okay. I'm going to be doing that next week. It's a friends and family rate. That's okay. I already told you I still got the deal down at UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. That's not $500. You get some training. Training you can get anywhere 3, 4, 5,000. Keynotes you can get up again 3, 4, 5,000. Breakouts for conferences you can get 1, 2, a couple thousand. They have at these conferences, they have sponsors, who give them the money and then they give it to you. That's how that works. All right. So when you're trying to figure out, oh, well, this, that, or the other, what's going on, that's how you want to be thinking about that. Okay. So let me open it up here. I'm going to take some questions. I'm going to ask you before we do that, tell me what's the one thing that's resonated with you guys so far. And you'll see that I've got my number there, my WhatsApp. If you want a WhatsApp, you can, if you want to connect with me, you've got the information there. 678-953-0435. That's +1 for our non-US constituency. Okay. My email and stuff is there. But what's the one thing? Yeah, everyone is a little bit quiet. Drop them in the chat. What's the one thing that's resonated with you so far? Maybe it doesn't have to be something I've said. Maybe something that you thought of while I was talking. Okay. One thing that's resonated. What do you guys got so far? What's kicked off? Then we'll open it up for some questions as well.
I'll jump in.
Yeah, Kathy, go ahead.
My screen is doing weird things, so my mic button isn't on when it's on full screen, so I've been bouncing around trying to... Anyways.
That's okay.
And I think one of the main things that really hit me is that idea that, well, for one thing, like you said, that your book doesn't have to be the same topic as your speaking gig.
It does not.
That was definitely one of the things I've been thinking about lately is, well, the thing I want to speak about really is not necessarily what my other work is, but it's interesting that you say that they don't have to be the same.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thank you for saying that. They don't have to be the same, because I think we have this impression, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on, that, and I'm not saying you have this, I'm saying we, the body politic, we have this impression that all the lights have to be green in order for us to move forward in the paid speaking endeavor. I mean, there was a while, and when I say a while, it was like a few months where it felt like I was spending a lot of time getting ready to get ready. I don't know if you've ever felt like that. That's what, for me, that's what it felt like. I'm like, and there were some things I was, now legitimately in my defense, I was updating my website. We were getting past the first phase of COVID. So I hadn't gone out to speak in a while. I was like, let me update some things. So there was some getting ready, like legitimately. But at the same time, you ever feel like it was just starting to feel a little bit less than? Okay. It was starting to feel like a little bit less than. So that's what we've got there. Okay. We're starting to get some questions, Colleen. Do you see some of them on the chat? You want to read one or two of them off, or whatever you want to do, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always love interaction. So if you ask this question and you want to ask it yourself, of course, that's a great option as well. So I do see a bunch of people are dropping in the points that they took. And I just love that people are taking so much different aspects from your presentation already. And then it looks like Zach is the one that dropped the question in here. So Zach, I'll ask if you want to unmute and ask your question directly, or
sure.
You are welcome to do that, or I can ask it for you.
Sure. No, I don't have any problem speaking.
There you go, Zach.
So here's the thing.
Yeah. Do you mind putting on your camera while you're talking?
No, not at all. Here we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get on stages for the better part of 2 years, and every single time I put my name in the ring, something keeps me from getting on that stage. I don't know what it is, and I can tell you what I think it's not. It's not the fact that I have something compelling and inspiring to say. It's not the fact that I lack expertise. It's definitely not my confidence. It's definitely not my presentation. It's not my delivery. It's not any of that. It can't be. Because I keep finding that there's people that don't have serious pieces and parts of this plan that are getting on the stage, and they're just terrible. They're not impactful. They're not. How are they beating me? And I'm thinking that this could be one of two things. Either I'm coming in too hot, or I'm intimidating. And I don't know what I don't know, because I'm technically, I mean, I used to do stand-up. I have no problem with the stage. I'm Dale Carnegie trained in public speaking. I'm constantly getting on podcasts, and I've had a couple of speaking engagements, and I've gotten nothing but amazing feedback that they've never heard anybody speak about these things like me, that it was the best episode they've ever produced, that it was one of the highest rated things, but I don't have any reels. So I don't have a way to produce something that can prove. I'm stuck in this perpetual catch-22, and it's not a lack of confidence or ability, or expertise. I don't know what I'm missing.
Can I ask you a few questions? Because I'm going to need like 2 or 3. Okay. So the first one is: are you trying to get paid or free gigs?
So far, all free.
Okay. Number 2, do you have a speaker page or anything like that on your webpage, on your website?
No, because I don't have a reel, and I don't know what else I could put on there. I do finally have, I did get sort of a stage. It was a speaking opportunity, and I did do it, and it was highly regarded, and I have one photo of that, of me in the crowd, but I have nothing else.
Okay, so let me stop you. So that's a half a point there we might need to look at. And then the third question is, what's your topic?
Well, I've got a few, right? So I have an expertise in marketing, branding, but I also I'm unique in that I have a degree and experience in creative, but I also have a master's in IT, and I know how to smush them together, and I know how to communicate the value of both. But I also have a tremendous personal story, which is also really hard for me to figure out where the line is, or if there's a place for me to smush them together. And I don't know if you want me to keep expounding on that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So if I were to ask you and I'm trying to put you on the spot. I'm not trying to embarrass you or put you on the spot at all. If I were to ask you for a title of your presentation, you don't have to tell me, do you have a title in your head?
Okay, I can tell you what I just got rejected for in a TEDx.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Failing forward. And it's like it's not failing forward, sorry, it's fearless failing, sorry, is what it was. It was fearless failing. Okay. And it was more about my personal story in how I refused defeat, and how I truly believe, because I didn't have any resources I didn't have any resources, but I certainly didn't have any more than the most common person. So I truly believe that there is nothing that's impossible, nothing. And I'm not special. I just wanted it bad enough. So there was that, and it was just showing about like how most people are so afraid of quitting, and so people are so afraid of failing. And I feel like failure is a gift. Defeat is a choice.
Let me stop you there. So then let me answer your question. And then we'll move on, and we can talk more. Like, my information's there. We can connect. I don't know if you put your information down. Like, I did. It's cool. We can talk. Okay, we'll talk. But here's the short answer. The short answer is that it might be, after just asking 3 questions, okay? The short answer is it might be that you haven't compiled your body of work into a compelling topic or description that a would-be client would feel comfortable in hiring you to bring in. That might be part of it. I don't know. I had 3 questions, but that might be part of it. The other part of it might just be, it's definitely the web page, and the short answer to that question of what else do you put on there besides a speaking reel You put on your topic, you put on your description, you put on your bio. If you have some testimonials, I would recommend you start getting some testimonials from people who've seen you speak. There's a few things we can put on there. Okay, there you go. Good job, Colleen. Okay, so there's a few things we can put on there. Let's put all that in the parking lot. That's the short answer. Let's put all that in the parking lot. We'll schedule some time. I'm not charging you any money. We'll schedule some time. We'll talk. If I can get a few more questions, I probably can get you an answer. Okay, but that's for right now. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Good one. Colleen, do we have anybody else in the queue?
Thank you, by the way, very much.
No problem.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you, Zach, for going ahead and interacting with the speaker. I love that. What a great question. And I took away a lot from that answer as well. So same thing for the other attendees that are here. Sometimes your question may give you some insight, but it also might give some insight for the other attendees here. So this is not the time to be shy. All of you said almost every one of you said you were speakers here today. So this is the opportunity to showcase some of that. So feel free to raise your physical hand or raise your Zoom hand or just unmute. We're a nice crowd here today, so we can play nice and not all speak at once. So if you've got a question, you can unmute and interact directly with Brian.
Awesome. If you do, great. If not, that's okay, because we got a couple more points. And like I said, that's me, Baxter, and Nero from right to left. That's not easy to catch the picture of the dog licking you while you're smiling and looking in the camera. So I want a little street cred respect for that. All right, we're moving. Challenge number 2. We got two more. I promised you guys we do for people who spoke for free. Remember I said that? I said it's not just paid. I'll tell you some stuff for free. Okay. So how can I get paying clients for my free public speaking? Here's the short answer to this. Let me ask a different question. Why, not what, why, not how, why am I not getting more paying clients from my free talks? Answer, because you're probably being able to give it. No, that's no problem. You're probably trying to get the people, you're probably trying to do too much good information at once. You're probably giving away too much good information. That's what I was doing. It's giving away too much good information. Okay. So that's the short answer. Now, let's get into the how, longer answer. Here's what you're going to want to do. A free deal. Okay. 30 minutes, let's assume. I like to use what's called a 5x5 framework. Okay. I like to use a 5x5 framework. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take my presentation and break it down into 5 sections. Let me go through those 5 sections in a second. And you're also going to want to be able to have 3 key elements in those 5 sections. All right, everybody with me so far? 5 sections, 3 key elements. The reason I call it 5x5 is because each section is going to be 5 minutes. 5 times 5 is 25, or the 30 minutes with a little buffer. Still with me? Everybody's still good shit, right? This is the easy part. All right, now, the 5 sections. Section number 1, talk about who you are, talk about the problem, talk about your street cred. You'll notice if you go back and look at my presentation, if you decide to go look at it, you'll notice I followed this framework. Okay? Who you are, what the problem is, your street cred. You also talk about what they can expect from your time. Again, go back and listen, or just think about it. Oh, that's right. He did lead off with this. Okay. Second point is the first key principle. Third section, second key principle. Now, I did a little bit of a 6x7 kind of deal here because I knew we had an hour, so I added 4 key elements. But let's keep this simple, 5x5. Third component was the second key element. Fourth, now you just saw me do that, so what did I do? I did Q&A. What? In the middle of the presentation? Let me tell you why. You do Q&A in the middle of the presentation for a couple of reasons. Number 1, people actually have something to say. Zach had something to say. It was good, right? Like, it was good. Made a good point. Think of Q&A instead of as a throwaway down, think of it as a legitimate crowdsourced information for people to be able to, like Colleen was alluding to, other people might get good stuff. If you go with the idea that the presentation proper is what we think people want to hear, then doesn't it stand to reason that the Q&A is what they want to hear? To me, that makes a lot of sense. So I look at it as a legitimate element in my presentation. All right. Then the fifth element of the section, excuse me, I should say, is the third point plus some type of call to action. If you're doing a physical, you might talk about your book. You might talk about, I usually have some stuff laid out, your books or whatever. If you don't have that, then you don't have that. You talk about signing on. One of the things that I tell people, especially with the free presentations, is, and just take my word on this one, it is not a conversation around, I do a free talk and I get coaching clients signed up. They're coming up. I'm handing out order forms. That's not been my experience. It just hasn't been my experience. Okay. I've seen other people do it. You'll need to talk to someone smarter than me on how to do it. Let me tell you what I do. And let me tell you what I've seen and what I teach. What I do is I do the following progression: educate and entertain during the presentation, discuss through a phone call, Zoom call, whatever, that situation. And from there, that leads to a paying client. Okay? That's what you'd be able to get. Does that make sense for everybody? You're starting off educating and entertaining. You're moving to a discovery call or some type of discussion, and then you're leading to a paying client. Am I making sense? Everybody cool with this? Okay? That's what we're trying to do. You'll get into, oh, well, I need to do this, that. No, you don't. Takes a lot of the pressure off. Sometimes people are like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to be a speaker. All you have to do is have a few good points, maybe tell some jokes, just be a little bit entertaining. You should win games. You should win games. Okay? You should win games. So that's one of the things I wanted to be able to do, the 5-by-5. And the other thing that I want to be able to talk about with the speaking for free is that you want to make sure that you are speaking in front of the right audiences. This is not an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet where you just go out and speak for free at every Tom, Dick, and Harry event that invites you. That's not how this game works. That's not how it should work. You got to take a look. Am I in front of the right people? Am I saying the right things? Is it what they want to hear? Okay, am I making sense with that? You got to be judicious on where you're speaking. Now, this last challenge we'll get into here today. This is a big one, whether you're doing paid speaking or speaking, just trying to get clients, and that's fine too. Challenge number one, quite frankly, is just getting out of our own way. We're having a mindset conversation. So I'm going to go here for a few minutes if you don't mind, because we talked skill set this whole time. I would be remiss and I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't address the mindset part, because there is. Okay, getting out of our own way. If you take a look at this, I love this slide. I didn't come up with it. I found it, but I love it. This is the comfort zone. All right. And as you can see, a lot of people, we like to stay in our comfort zones. But here's the thing with comfort zones. They're constantly expanding and contracting. They never stay the same. So if you're not sure if yours is increasing, then I'll tell you something, probably decreasing. It's probably shrinking. Okay. So we have our comfort zone. Now, here's the thing about the comfort zone, and this is why I love this slide so much, is because right after the comfort zone is the fear zone, isn't it? We're trying to get out. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to do stuff. But then we either lack confidence, we find excuses, we're affected by everyone else's opinions. You've had this. I've had this. I'm not calling anybody out. I've had this. But once we get past that, and here's the thing I tell people, once you or me or anybody makes the decision to move forward, I'm going to start getting more paid speaking gigs. I'm going to start getting more clients from my speaking. I'm going to, I don't know how. Maybe I'll talk with Brian. He's saying he'll talk with me. But somehow we're going to at least entertain this notion of what we're going to do. You got to get past that fear zone, because then you get into the learning zone, dealing with challenges and problems. You're acquiring new skills. And then you get into one of my favorites, that growth zone. We call that the flow, right? That's the zone. That's where, and you've all been there in different aspects of your life, different parts of your life, some shorter than others. That's fine. But you're living your dreams. You're finding purpose. You feel in alignment. This is not me making this up. You know where I'm coming from. And the whole deal is, as a speaker, I want you to be able to impact more lives be able to reach higher, more audiences, expand your reach while you're doing all of that. But when I said some of the things that get in our way, this is also a few things as well, right? Great book, Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. 3 Greatest Adversaries. Inner Critic. There's a different way. Oh, you're terrible. You're not a speaker. You're not this. What makes you think you know what to do? Imposter syndrome is part of that too. Monkey mind. Oh, you know what? I got to make sure I get all the dots, the I's dotted and the T's crossed before I do anything, and I got to just wait. Trickster. Not only have you failed in the past, what are you doing? You're not able to learn more about this at all. Okay? You don't know anything about this. It's important to recognize which one tries to get you. For me, it's usually the monkey mind. Tries to confuse me, tries to make me think this, that, or the other. You gotta push past that. Brian, what do you mean by push past that? Well, pretty simple. If you want to get more, you have to be more first. Okay? If you want to get more, you have to be more first. If you want to be able to get a better husband, be a better wife. If you want to be able to get more business, be a better business owner. If you want to be able to get out and do more public speaking, be a better public speaker. These aren't my rules. Okay, if you want to get more, you need to be more. A lot of times we run into people where they want to have this conversation about getting more money or what everybody else needs to do to be able to do all of that. My parents, unfortunately, a little bit like that. My mom loves having a conversation about what you need to do to respect her so she feels better about herself. One way to do it. Okay, so you want to be able to go into lifting yourself up. Now, how can you do that? 2 things. One of the things that we've already talked about, we can schedule, if you want, a best practice call with me. That's no money. That's no problem. That's no issue. Okay? We can talk about your situation. We could talk about where you're at. We could talk about what you're looking to do going forward. If you have some specific questions, that's fine. You can also come as my guest. We have a speakers education and mastermind group. We meet on the 2nd Wednesday of each month. Colleen mentioned this earlier. Well, maybe I mentioned it earlier, actually. Colleen mentioned this. I mentioned this earlier. The speakers group. Okay? And for the last to be able to do, you can do that, and that is zero problem. It's a nice little group. That's my number there. You can text me. You can be able to do and WhatsApp me, email me, or whatever the case may be.